Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Jonathan Wei. Thanks for being on the show, Jonathan.
You're welcome, Whitney. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on the show, and I know you're going to provide a lot of value to the listeners and from your experience, and I'm looking forward to getting into our conversation. But real quick, I want to remind the listeners to go to lifebridgecapital.com where you can connect with me personally, and I hope you'll also go to the Real Estate Syndication Show Facebook group where you can connect with experts like Jonathan. You can ask questions, and you can submit questions for me to ask on the show, and connect with other people in your network and keep growing your business. So a little about Jonathan. He is a CPA involved in multifamily syndication, and he loves to travel. So Jonathan, give us a little more about, who you are, what you're up to, and let's dive into how you got your first deal, your first syndication.
Oh, yeah, sure. So my background is professionally, I work for a Big Four, PricewaterhouseCoopers. I went to Rutgers University. I'm a CPA, and I'm a New York CPA, and I have a master's degree in taxation. And I was working in Pricewaterhouse, and I work in numerous Wall Street firms during my career. And during that time, I think everyone read Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. It changed my life. I decided to pursue real estate part-time. I bought condos in New Jersey, and I bought a portfolio of 3 of them. And I decided to go to Philadelphia to fix and flip some homes. And I really love real estate, so I decided to look into getting to a larger scale. And I got Michael Blank's book, and I got his SDA analyzer, and I decided to join his mentorship program to get some guidance and mentor to go bigger and faster. And that's how I got into multifamily space. Okay,
so let's break that down a little bit. But you read Rich Dad Poor Dad and realized, okay, wait a minute, this real estate thing could really provide some wealth, right? And pursued real estate. But you started with some condos, is that right?
Yeah, some condos in New Jersey. I used to live in Princeton, New Jersey. I bought a few condos in the area where I live because I felt I can go there myself, be the handyman, watch some YouTube videos and fix some some items, and be a handyman. So, and then I decided going to Philadelphia, which was actually at a time very it was a very cheap property. I think $50,000 for like a row home, and property tax was only $200 a year. So I decided to go fix and flip some homes in Philadelphia as well with my friends. That's what I did.
Okay. So why not keep doing that? Why specifically get into multifamily syndication?
Because I felt that when I was working as a CPA doing taxes, it's a very stressful environment in the Wall Street environment. And even though I climbed through the ranks and became like the head of tax, I decided that I wanted financial freedom. And I read Michael Blank's book. I saw his SDA. And I realized I needed a mentor to go big and learn multifamily space. I couldn't do it on my own. So I joined this program, and I decided to get a mentor and scale. And right now I have 136 units as of right now.
Wow. Okay. So you hired a mentor. How long from the time you hired a mentor to the time you found your first deal?
So it was in September of 2018 I joined, and I got under contract in, I think it was May of this year of 19. And that was my second actual deal as a GP. My first deal was raising capital as a general partner for another deal in Atlanta, Georgia. So this is my second deal, but my first deal leading the syndication from A to Z.
Nice. That's quick. I mean, I find that most people aren't able to do a deal that fast, even after having a mentor. And congratulations on that. So, but tell me about how did you narrow down to the mentor that you chose?
My mentor is Drew Whitson. Is a great guy. I love him.
I mean, just like you chose Michael Blank. Great guy, great program. Yeah. But there's so many, and I get that question often about, well, how do I know which program to join. And I just wondered what the, what the factor was that said, okay, you're going to go, with this program.
Oh, because I read his book and I saw the SDA and I saw his
Mm-hmm.
videos, and he looked like a good mentor and credible, and I saw
Yes.
how successful he was in his branding and his now equity brand. So I decided to join his team to get more experience. Now at the
Right.
time, I only knew him and another person, and I compared him against another person. That's why I decided to join Michael Blanc.
Okay. No, great guy. I just wonder because I get that question all the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, great guy and program. But, so now walk me through, how you found this deal.
I found this deal because when you're part of the program, they say, oh, you have to always contact brokers. You always have to do your networking and meet people and you meet for coffee. So through my networking, I found this great guy, broker Chris, and he was looking for me, and he said, I got a great deal for you. I got 2 deals for you. And out of 2 deals, I analyzed the off-market deal. The one that I like was more stabilized. It had like around 90% occupancy. The other one was like around 40%. So I decided to take 90% occupancy one. And I underwrote it, and it seemed like a good deal. And I submitted an offer, an LOI, which was, I'm comfortable with that. By the time you under like 100, 200 deals, you get comfortable of the numbers. You have a sense of what's good or not. And you submit an LOI, which is a natural progression.
Okay. So tell me, if you hadn't had a mentor, you think you still would have found that deal at that time and been able to close it?
No, because honestly, the mentorship program elevated me, and I needed also a KP, a guarantor, and my mentor was a guarantor, and I needed someone to help me make sure that my underwriting is correct, guide me through the steps, and teach me the first deal. So that was very important to me to get my first deal done with a mentor. I
Yeah.
didn't want to do it alone, so.
No, that's great. That's great. And I couldn't agree more. I same way. I hired a mentor and it's just really pushed me much faster. It gives you more confidence, right? I mean, because you have somebody
Yeah.
kind of looking over your shoulder,
Yes.
that's been there and done that. And so, but
Yes.
tell me, so tell me a little more about the deal. How many units and where it was located?
Sure. Was in Oklahoma City metro area, and it's 56 units with a commercial office space. So that space was like 1,000 square feet, which we're gonna rent it out to someone to use. So there's extra bonus. And the investor was a hotel owner, so he didn't know how to manage it properly. So he was opportunity to come in, value add the property, and increase the rents, maintain the expenses, put in a professional property manager, and turn it around, and so we could exit out in that deal. We're talking 5 years on that deal.
So what was it, Jonathan, that you saw, in the old management that was poor enough that allowed you to see value that could be had?
I noticed that he had inadequate a property manager with inadequate experience and did not know how to properly run the property. She was basically an amateur, given a lower rent scale, and given very low payroll. And say, I want you to manage the property. However, I noticed that there was a lot of deficiencies in certain areas. Rents were very low, and she couldn't get the occupancy the way that ideally should be ran. So there's an opportunity there for me to increase the value. Put some paint, refresh it, put some amenities outside, outdoor barbecue, to increase the awareness and the brand of the community.
Okay. And I meant to ask you also about, you said finding this deal, it was off market. The broker gave you a couple deals and you analyzed them and this one had 90% occupancy and you like this deal better. But, how did you build that relationship enough with that broker that he, since you had no experience in syndication, why did he give this deal to you?
I think it's because he sees that I'm genuine, that I'm hardworking. He sees that I'm a tax professional, that I am at a more senior level, like director and above. That he sees that I'm more serious and committed. So he trusts me. He believes in me, and he knows that I'm willing to scale to a very high level. So he wants to work with me and his team. So.
Nice. Okay. And so, I meant to ask you too, like you had done some condos. and then, maybe a few flips, but then, going into the syndication model, I hear it all the time, people are fearful, right? They're fearful to go up to to doing large apartment buildings. Well, what was key to you to being able to do the next deal as a large apartment complex and go through the syndication model, after not doing any kind of commercial property before?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was my mentor, and a lot of it also was the fact that I had family and friends who supported me. So I told my relatives, I said, I'm gonna multi-family syndicate this deal. Do you want to support me in my endeavor to do this? It's like, yes, we will. And they put a lot of capital into the deal. So a lot of my closest family and friends supported me and gave me the faith. And then, me being kind of like a born leader, because always been directing and teaching and leading in my role as a tax director and head of tax of the Americas. I took that on as a challenge, and I said, I'm going to syndicate this deal. We're going to make a smooth transition. We're going to have a laser focused plan how to value add, and that's what I did. I took it on, and that's how I got successful. And this is actually my second deal. My first deal, I raised capital, and I was raised capital to help close the deal on Atlanta deal. So I helped save that deal as well.
Nice. So tell me about, raising capital for the first deal. How did that go for you, and what did that look like?
That deal was very interesting. That deal was a 34 unit asset. It was in Douglasville, Atlanta, which is outside of Atlanta. And it was a student of Michael Blanc who needed some assistance to raise capital. And so my mentor coach said, I need you to help her raise the capital. I said, okay, no problem. I'm going to take a challenge because I'm looking for deals as well. And I raised my hand, and then I went out. I went to all my contacts. I went through all my phone book. And I kind of each one said, I have a deal in Atlanta. It's a great growing area. Would you be interested in investing in this offering, which is a 34 unit townhome? And we're going to value add the deal. It's a beautiful area. I show them the deck, and a lot of them really expressed interest into it. And I was able to raise a certain portion of money for her to close the deal. And I'm very happy I can help her in that way.
Nice. So what kind of response did you get? Did these people know that you were already in real estate? Did they know that, that they were going to have this opportunity, or was this the first conversation?
It was actually the first conversation for raising money for multifamily syndication. They know that I did real estate. They know I own 3 condos. They know I did fix and flips in Philly, but they didn't know that I bought large commercial buildings. So some of them were very fearful because, you go ask them, do you have $50,000 to commit to the deal? They're very fearful, right? So a lot of them will ask you a lot of questions, and they want to vet the deal. They want to see you have a track record. And so that's where, Michael Blanc and his team came in. I said, we have Michael Blanc, we have the team, we have experienced syndicators who have track record. And I'm here. My role is to help raise money and raise capital. That's my role. And so some of my friends did come invest in the deal, and we were able to close on time. So.
Okay. So what kind of, when you're talking to those investors, and I know, obviously they have lots of questions, but specifically like the tax benefits, obviously, you're a CPA. Could you elaborate on how you expressed, there's the tax benefits that they would gain through investing in this deal?
Yeah. So in the multifamily space in a syndication, you get excellent tax benefits because whereas versus a single family house, while you do get some tax benefit to depreciation, it's more on a smaller scale. Whereas when you do a larger multifamily syndication, you can use cost segregation. Where under the Tax Cuts Jobs Act, the Trump reform rules, you're able to accelerate bonds to 100% from 50% to 100%. And you're also able to accelerate that in a cost segregation to put appropriate lives. So you can work with your CPA to determine what's the best scenario for you in that situation. And what it does, it creates paper loss for you in K1 through a K1 distribution. So it's a wonderful tool.
So can you elaborate on what, paper loss means? Like, we talk about that term all the time, but, for somebody that's not maybe invested yet, or maybe they've never made a big investment into something like this, they may not know what you're talking about. And so what does that mean if you say paper loss?
Sure. So paper loss means that, or phantom loss, basically. What it means is that you could take a non-cash event, like, for example, let's say you buy a computer under the makers or 168, depreciation, it's 5 years. There's a table IRS publishes 5 years. So you do makers modified cost acceleration depreciation. So you accelerate the depreciation the first year, and the second year is accelerate, but over time it gets lower. So in the front, the graph looks like accelerated, and over time it gets lower and lower. So it's called modified accelerate recovery system makers. And then you do over 5 years. There's a period they tell you on the IRS table. So what you do is when you make the election to accelerate a bonus depreciation, push it to forward to the earlier years. It could be year one, so fully expense 100%, or it could be you could push from 27.5 years residential real estate into a 5-year bucket or a 7-year bucket based on the cost segregation analysis done by the firm. So what it does is that you accelerate the deduction so that when your deduction exceeds your income, you get a loss due to mainly because of depreciation rules. And when you get a loss, you don't pay no tax on the losses, but you get so depending on your situation, you can get a benefit for the losses in the current year.
Nice. So, Jonathan, what's been the hardest part of this syndication journey for you?
The most difficult part, I think, is raising capital, because it takes time, it takes trust, and it takes a series of steps that I learned to get pre-commitments of the $5 million. And some of the steps is basically branding your brand, social media, creating a nice branding, get everyone to know you, creating your own meetups, which I have done in locally in Dallas. I do monthly webinars with experts, talk about different topics like cost segregation or opportunity zones, and I do that monthly. And get your brand awareness out there that you're a multifamily syndicator, you're part of a team, you have a track record, and people take you serious, they know who you are, then you get recognition, and then you be viewed as an industry expert in your field. And that's how you build your followers, because once you add value to them, like how you add value in your podcast, you're giving value add to to listeners in your podcast, then you become a credible industry thought leader platform. So that's what you do. And that's how you build your brand, build your establishment, and that's how you get passive investors ultimately.
Sure. So, how are you preparing for this potential, downturn that everybody's talking about?
Yeah, there's also about this recession, but we don't really can predict when it's going to happen. And for me, I just do my best to underwrite very conservatively. I can't predict the future, but I know multifamily is very safe. The default rate is very, very safe, less than 1% in 2008, the Great Recession. So I am not as concerned as other people, and I just underwrite very conservatively, find good deals, and I know that I will produce good value and make excellent returns for my investors.
And what's a way that you've recently improved your syndication business that we could apply to ours?
So some of the things you can improve is so one of the tips I would say is you always got to underwrite conservatively and raise a little more, especially in capital raising, because you never know if the person is going to wire the money at the last time. And also communicate frequently and ask the right questions, meaning that you don't want to take an investor who has only $50,000 in a bank account, right? You want to make sure that they have enough capital to withstand and not starve, right? So you have to make sure that they understand that the risk. They have to understand that they have enough capital, and they're aware of this issue. So communicate frequently, underwrite conservatively, raise more money so that in case the person backs out, you have additional capital, and try to do it before you have the deal. So break pre-commitments ahead of time, so you don't just scramble the last minute. And always have a team that you always train your team. So what I'm doing is I'm training my friends to raise capital, and I train them a specific manner to raise capital. Then I tell them after I train you how to asset manage. So you're training your team, you're building a team. So effectively, when you're leading a team, you focus on a higher value deals, like broker relationships, some people you met, creating a branding. So you do more high level value, and you have a team to help you do the rest of the work. So it's building your system, building a team. That's what's very important to me.
Very important part of the entire process. The syndication is a team sport for sure.
Yeah.
So what's your best advice for caring for investors so they want to return to the next deal?
My best advice is, be honest, be truthful, be transparent. Always communicate. Like I communicate monthly to them, and I think I like your idea as well. Maybe if your group investors in California, I could fly to California, give them the checks in person, so it feels more personable. Get to know them a little more, understand what else they're looking for, and making sure that they're happy with their investment and happy with the team. That's what's most important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you can't do that for every investor. You can't fly all over the place, but we did. We had a group that were really close together. And so we were able to hand out a lot of the first distributions in person and answer questions, which was great. So, So what would you say, Jonathan's the number one thing that has contributed to your success?
I think it's hard work. It's delegation, and it's your mindset. Your mindset. You just say that you believe you can do it. You believe the sky's the limit, and you have to work hard every day at it, and do what you're supposed to be doing. Like try to build your brand, try to create network, new meetups, and meet more people, and also find right partners. So it's very important you find the right partner. So once you have a deal, and let's say you need $10 million raise, you need to find the right person to help you raise that capital as well. Because if you know that your friend can't raise that capital, you got to find the right appropriate people with more experience can help you raise the capital and go on deals together. So you go further as you go bigger, as you meet the right people in team, so that you can go faster and bigger.
And how do you like to give back?
I like to donate money. I like to also help out in the soup kitchens. I like to maybe give a meal to family Thanksgiving. Those are things I give back to the community, and I also have to coach and teach folks who want interested. They ask me like tax questions. I always try to help them in tax questions about investing in real estate. So that's what I do.
I know there tends to be lots of questions around taxes, right? So it's
yes.
nice to know somebody like yourself that's an expert in that field. But at the moment, tell the listeners though how they can get in touch with you in case they have a tax question or about real estate.
Oh, sure. They can reach me, send me an email, info@greystonecapgroup.com, GREYSTONECAP group.com, or my website, so you can reach me that way, greystonecapgroup.com.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by Life Bridge Capital. Life Bridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. Life Bridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.